Howdy friends, and welcome to another great campground review. Today's destination is Lathrop State Park, located in southeast Colorado, about 3 miles west of Walsenburg on Highway 160. Lathrop State Park was the very first state park in Colorado and opened in 1962. But don't let the age fool you, because Lathrop State Park has been updated and offers a lot of wonderful outdoor activities. In fact, it is the only state park in Colorado that has a golf course. The park also has a free archery range, horse trails, and of course, 103 improved campsites. There are 3 primary trails in the park, with the Cuerno Verde Trail being the most popular. It's a paved 3-mile concrete mixed-use path that encircles Lake Martin. It's flat and easy and wheelchair accessible. It has 2 lakes, Martin Lake, which offers power boats and water skiing, jet skis, and sailing, while Horseshoe Lake is made for wakeless activity such as canoes, kayaks, sailboats, and paddleboards. The park is approximately 1,460 acres and sits at approximately 6,400 feet above sea level. Looking at the landscape, you can see that the park is relatively flat and has a lot of pinion and junipers. Here you can see the Cuerno Verde Trail along Lake Martin. Here is a view from the boat ramp looking to the south and Spanish Peaks. Looking at the map of the Yucca Campground, you can see that it has 21 basic campsites and they have gravel roads in this area. It is best suited for tent camping, camper vans, pickup campers, etc. Each site has a picnic table and a fire pit, and the sites are fairly small. The Pinion Campground has 82 full electric sites on paved roads and water hydrants throughout each loop, but no water hookup at each individual site. There's a dump station and newly improved bathrooms with pay showers in each loop. There are 5 concreted ADA sites available in this camping area and numerous other sites with good accessibility. You can see these marked in blue on the park map that I have up here. I would encourage you to view the campsite worksheet that I've listed in the description of this video. It will show you each campsite and what to expect as far as shade, driveway type, views, accessibility, and any other thing that I think would be of interest to you. Now that you know where we are and what's available, let's get started on our campsite review. We're going to start in Loop A. Here's site 22 off to our right. Let's pull through. 23 was packed full of cars and RVs. 24 was a decent back-end site. 25, okay site but no shade. 26 had a little bit of shade around the picnic table. 27 is the ADA site on a big concrete area by the bathroom. 28, picnic table was up the hill. 29, picnic table was down the hill. Site 30 was a site with no shade. 31 was accessible, but no shade, and kind of a small camping spot. 32 is accessible, was an okay site with a good view. 33 is accessible, but very little shade. 34 is an accessible site with a great view. 35 had a little bit of shade. 36 was not accessible and a little bit of shade. 37, same way, little shade. 38 had some good shade and it was an accessible site. 39, kind of small, but was accessible. 40 had fair shade. 41, shade was okay there, but the camp area was a little small. 42, very little shade, and had a big rut down to the picnic table. Heading over to the B loop now. Site 43 was a small pull through. Site 44 had no shade but was accessible. .45 is a small site, accessible but no shade. 46 was small and no shade. 47 was accessible with no shade. 48 was accessible, no shade. 49 had a little bit of shade. 50 was accessible with good shade. 51 had a little bit of shade. 52 accessible and some shade. 53 had good shade and was a nice site. 54 was a small site, accessible but very little shade. 55 had a little bit of shade. 56 was accessible but was a small site, no shade. Site 57 had very little shade. 58 had no shade. 59 is one of the accessible sites, had plenty of room and a raised tent pad. 60, no shade, a very small site. 61, no shade. It was a flat site, but out in the open. 62 was small and flat, accessible. Heading to Loop C, campsite 63 is one of the ADA sites, had a little bit of shade, but nice size. 64 was accessible, small site with a really good view. 65 was accessible, had good shade. 66 was the camp host, and you could see the great view from that site. 67 was a good site, had trees. 68 was a small site, no shade. 69 was accessible with pretty good shade. 70 was accessible, no shade, but a good view. 71 we couldn't see. 72, good shade. 73 was accessible with a little shade, or accessible. It was a small site, but a good view. 75 was accessible, a little bit of shade. 76, accessible and no shade. 77, accessible and nestled in some juniper trees. 78, has some shade. 79 was accessible and tucked back into the juniper trees. Sites 80 and 81 are accessible, and those are a double site there. 82 is accessible, and it has a big driveway. 83 was accessible, had good shade. 84 was accessible. 85 had a little bit of shade. 86, accessible, good shade, and a nice site. 87, big site and the raised tent pad. 88 was accessible, with a little bit of shade. 89, kind of a small site. 90 was accessible, no shade. 91 was accessible, no shade. 92 was accessible, but no shade. 93 was accessible with some good shade, with some taller trees around it. 94 was accessible, no shade. 95, couldn't really see. Same with 96. 97 was accessible. It was a medium-sized site with no shade. 98, not accessible, had a little bit of shade. 99 was accessible, no shade. 101 was one of the accessible sites. Again, the nice big concrete site. Site 100, accessible, but it had a great view of the mountain. 102 had no shade. 103 was accessible, no shade. Well, friends, that wraps up our campsite review of Lathrop State Park. Hopefully you found some sites that you'd like to go to. If you enjoyed the video, be sure and like and subscribe so you won't miss another episode. And don't forget to check out the campsite worksheet that's in the description of the video. Until next time, so long.